One of the most common questions I get is about what sander I use. If you've seen any of my videos, you've probably seen this little sander that has foam pads and a hose to suck up all of the dust. I'll be honest, right out of the gate though, this is not a cheap tool. It's something that I had to do some thinking about before I dove in and I bought it. But I have personally loved it, and to me it was worth the investment. It isn't for everyone though. But if you find yourself sanding a lot, wishing your sander could sand more than just flat surfaces, or if you really need to sand indoors, it might just be for you. Okay, so first things first. I want to share what I love about it, then I'll share some of its limitations, and then the setup that I have, and a cheap alternative if you aren't ready to take the plunge. First, and the biggest reason that I bought the SurfPrep sander was because of the foam pads that make it possible to use a power sander on all sorts of details. Those are all the things that I used to have to sand by hand, but now I don't have to sand everything by hand. Just put a 1/2-inch foam pad on it and you can sand all of those curves and trim on any piece of furniture. Second, it hooks up to a shop vac so sanding dust doesn't get into the air. Now I don't have to go outside to use the sander. Third, I love that the pad is a rectangle, so I can get into corners. Obviously, there are other square sanders out there, so this wasn't a main reason for me to purchase it, but it's definitely a feature that I love. Alright, so now for the limitations. First, this sander does not cut through old finishes super fast. That's not what it's really meant to do. It's meant to help you prep your surface. But that doesn't mean you can't sand down to bare wood with the 3x4, because you definitely can sand down to bare wood with it. It just means that it might not be the fastest way to get there. But it's faster than sanding by hand. If your only other option is an orbital sander and you need to sand detailed wood, the 3x4 SurfPrep sander is a great option. And then the thing I don't care for with the SurfPrep is that it doesn't have an on-off button like the other sanders I'm used to. I mean, it does have an on-off button, but not to turn the motor on and off. Instead, you have to press the handle thing down to make it go. Sometimes when I'm sanding different things at different angles, it's not the easiest to have to push it down. Other than that though, I really don't have any complaints. The sandpaper seems to last just as long as the other sandpaper I usually use, and the cost is about the same as the other stuff I typically use. The foam pads are more expensive, but I don't have anything to compare those to, and those are the biggest reason that I bought this machine. The time that using the foam pads save and the hand cramping that I don't get because of being able to use a sander instead of hand sanding is worth spending a little bit extra on the pads. Alright, so my setup is pretty simple. I have a shop vac with 6 horsepower, and then I have an adapter from SurfPrep that makes the short hose attached to my shop vac hose. I personally use the regular sandpaper and the 1/2-inch foam pads the most. If you aren't ready to commit to a large investment, I have an alternative for you. SurfPrep recently came out with foam pads that will fit other sanders. So, you can pair them with your favorite sander. You can even make a homemade adapter to attach your vacuum hose to your sander. This is a flexible adapter that can be tightened to the dust port on your sander, and then you can tighten it to fit on the end of your vacuum hose. And voila! I have a ton more information for you in a post on my website. I'll include the link in the video description for you to learn more about the SurfPrep, and hopefully so you'll better know if this is the right choice for you. Last but not least, if this video was helpful, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. It really helps get our videos out more, so thank you so much. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments.